Dispatchers help callers on the worst days of their lives. For over 25 years, we've been there. A silent partner in millions of calls thanks to our redundant and diverse networks that ensure call delivery. Today, cities are bigger, traffic more congested, and the challenge is more complex. But you're never alone, because InDigital is quietly improving, implementing, and driving the next generation of 911, so you're supported in every situation. Make the switch at indigital.net.
Have you ever met a 911 professional and asked, what's the worst call you've ever taken? Well, here's your answer. I heard your last breath the night you flipped your four-wheeler. I tried to call you the day you committed suicide by driving your car into a tree. Blue face, cold to the touch. I helped you with CPR after you found your infant face down, not breathing. It messed me up. I did everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You were with me from the beginning, Grandma. 27 years later, I took the 911 call when you died. How fitting to be there for me in the beginning, and I was there for you in the end. I miss you, Grandma. I am 911. This is but a glimpse into the world of emergency dispatch. But what is it really like to answer a call during someone's nightmare? What is the impact on the first responder answering the call? Available on Amazon or where you purchase your favorite books and ebooks. Imagine listening. Your worst day is our everyday.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
But then on the flip side, one of the calls that has also probably been the hardest for me is a simple lost dog. I had a coyote mix, and he had cancer, and he had a really, really rough night the night before. Like, I knew I was gonna have to put him down soon. I didn't get much sleep. I already was a mess. I'm a very big dog person. They're my babies. My kids actually accuse me of loving the dogs more than them. And he just had a rough night. I didn't sleep. I had to be at work at 6. I was up at 4. Very first call I take is a lady who is hysterical because she lost her dog. I got the information, got a phone, took the call, was professional. I hung up, and I absolutely lost it to the point where my co-supervisor had to send me home. I couldn't get it together. I'm like, people have calls like this over people passing away, CPR, and I'm losing it over a dog. But it just was the fact that she was upset that she, just lost her dog, and I was about to really lose mine.
Right.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This episode is sponsored by InDigital, a leader in next-gen core services, and a big shout-out, as always, to subscribers of the podcast. Thank you very much. I have been here this week in Ohio, teaching and now recording a few episodes, and it has just been an excellent time. So thank you all for everything. And I'm here with my guest today. My guest today is Jen, and she is a quality assurance and training manager with Chagrin Valley 911 Dispatch out of Ohio. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing all right. So
Good.
Did I say that right? Chagrin? Is
Yep,
that right?
Chagrin Valley
Okay.
Dispatch. Yep, I know. A lot of people mispronounce it. So
When I first, when the reality show had come out.
the Crisis 911 Center.
Yes, the Crisis 911 Center. When it had first come out, I was telling people, and I said, I think I said that right. I think it's Chagrin. And I was like, I need to go back and look at one of those previews to make sure I'm saying it right.
Yep.
And I remember that when I was watching it, everyone had the bedazzled headsets. And one of your coworkers, I cannot remember the name, so I apologize. I don't remember your first name, but thank you very, very much, because they made a headset for me.
Oh, that's so nice.
They bought some headphones and bedazzled it with black and gold.
Even better. Perfect.
Yes,
the colors matching.
Yes, I thought that was the coolest thing, and I wore it for I don't know how many episodes that I was wearing it. But thank you again very much. It was so cool, and I appreciate it more than you know. So again, as I said, I'm excited to be here with you and to learn more about you. How did you get in public safety to?
I was one of those people that was taking police tests. I went to college for criminal justice and psychology, and I thought that should be useful in the police field.
Yeah.
So I started taking police tests, and then I wound across an article that said, "Hey, we're hiring for dispatchers," and my immediate thought was, "Hey, foot in the door." I started and then never left. I let my name fall off police tests. I was kind of landing in the middle. Anyways, I wasn't really getting that far with it and stuck with dispatch. And
Nice.
yeah, here I am.
You know, a lot of people will say that that it's been like that. They've come in and they want to check it out and everything, kind of get a taste for public safety. But on this side, because they want to go into police, fire, EMS, or whichever, and it happens just like that. They end up staying because it gets in their blood right away. So you don't have any public safety background? Do you come from a public safety family or anything? You
No,
just kind of hopped in?
I just kind of something I wanted to do, and going to college for it. A couple of my professors, my mentors, were retired police. They had the background. One of them was an attorney, and they just kind of like pushed me towards being in the field more because I'm more of an active person.
Yeah.
So that was another reason too. I thought, okay, I can at least be, out in the field doing things. And then when I saw the dispatch, I'm like, again, foot in the door. But it's really not as bad as I thought it would be with the sitting and the thing. Like you can still get up, move around. So that's cool. But yeah, I just felt like it was something I needed to do and that I wanted to do. I wanted something exciting and different and never the same. And dispatching fulfills all that.
No, that is for sure. And I mean, you've been doing this now for about 17 years, so a lot. 17 years. But when you first started out, though, did you get a chance to do a sit-along or anything like that, or did they just throw you in?
Well, they kind of made fun of me. So I was hired without an observation or anything. I didn't do any kind of sit-in, anything. I kind of knew like about the job because I researched a little bit, but I really wasn't that positive. I did my swearing in and everything, and afterwards I went into the center to meet the people that were working, and they said, "Oh, do you want to come sit? Do you want to hang out for a little bit?" And I actually told them no because I hadn't eaten breakfast. It was lunchtime and I was starving. So it's one of those things I look back now and I was like, that was such a big mistake. They were probably like, what the heck? And I missed the perfect opportunity to sit in and see what was going on. But I was literally so hungry that I felt sick. And I'm like, but poor choices. I'm like, my stomach won out, but so I never even sat in. I literally just, my first day was my first day.
Yeah. Wow. So, okay. So let's look at that then. So, hunger is very important. I'm all about food, man. Like I dig me some food, and
it was not the best moment I've ever had. But
oh, that is hilarious though. But okay, so that first day or the first time walking in is your first day, and what is that like for those who are watching and listening? Walking in, like, what do you remember seeing? What do you remember feeling as you're going?
I think I was nervous to the point where I was almost shaking, just because it was something completely different.
Yeah.
I'm a lot better now, but I wasn't the best at coming into new situations, meeting people, being social. I was kind of like quiet, like didn't talk a whole lot. So I just kind of walked in, and I remember there was like the back of lockers here, and the boss's office was over here, and I just went like beeline for the boss's office to talk to her to figure out what I needed to do. And then I came out onto the floor, and they sat me down next to a dispatcher, and I basically just sat there and watched what she was doing, learned about it, started teaching me things. And then, a couple hours later, I had like a headset, and I was plugged in and listening. And then, from there, it just kind of compiled on. Like, I couldn't even tell you the first phone call I answered. I don't know the first radio traffic, anything, but it just went from there. First I was doing a little bit, and then more, and then more. And then it seemed like 4 months in, all of a sudden I was doing everything on my own. And it kind of, like, I felt like I blinked. Like, I didn't remember specific situations or anything. Like, it just kind of all happened. And that's what I try to tell trainees too. It goes by quick. You seem like it's forever. You seem like it's taking forever for you to be in training. You feel like you should be further. You feel like but before you know it, you're done.
Right. Yeah. So you get in there, and you're learning all of this stuff fly. Now I have to ask, as you mentioned, you're throwing on a headset and you're listening to calls and everything already. Is it that long umbilical cord that we call it? We call it the umbilical cord.
Yep.
And you've got the little switch so that, make sure you're muted or something. And yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
I remember that because every so often there would be a trainer, or I think I even did it myself, forgot to flip the switch. And then you hear like the trainee going, you're like, oh no, like that's going through. You're like, oh, like turn it off.
Yeah, when we have people come in for observations, if they don't pay attention, sometimes that happens too.
Oh, so so you're going in, and like you said, you felt kind of almost like you were shaking a little bit, nervous and stuff. What else are you seeing? Like, are there multiple people working on the floor at a time? And like, what were the hours there? Was it 8 or 12?
It was 8-hour shifts, and you train on all 3 shifts for that particular department that I was at.
Yeah.
And at that time, there was minimums of 2, or minimums were 3, but we were able to, like take a lunch for an hour. So basically, we could drop down to 2. We only dispatched for one city. And it was the 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7 kind of thing. Trained on all the shifts. I remember I started on days, and I had a very thorough trainer who, made sure that the T's were crossed, the I's were dotted, everything with like leads and everything like that. She was just very, by the book with everything, which was good for me because I took notes, and I was learning really well following her, how she did things. She's an excellent dispatcher too. Afternoon shift was crazy to train on. I mean, there was just stuff going on, like unbelievable, and very busy. And the trainer I had for that was a lot of fun. I remember she was an excellent dispatcher. I don't want to say I learned a ton from her because of the pace and everything, but she made it more fun.
Yeah.
Then I went to nights, and my night shift trainer is the one that I learned the most from, and I got the most from, but I swear to God, I went home and cried.
Oh no.
She was hard, but in the position I'm in now and looking back on it, that's what perfected me. That's what spit shined me. That's what made me the dispatcher I am, is because she was tough on me. She expected a lot from me. I feel like she knew I could do it, and so she expected more than that from me.
Yeah.
And she's honestly a decent friend now. Like, I still keep in touch with her. She still asks about my kids. She still, on Facebook posts things. And so even though I had that relationship with her where I was like, you terrify me, I go home and cry.
Right.
That's honestly when I learned the most.
Yeah.
And then when I was out of training, I was on afternoon shift for the whole time I was.
So some of the things that we talk about in the class is how people eat their young. And there are some that are exactly like you mentioned, tough, but they're not going to let you drown. And then there's another section where they're just eating their young and they're like, get out of here,
Yeah.
And those are the people who, like we talk about, it's like, we need to kind of break that cycle, but that little bit of that tough love and those lessons, that I can get behind, because I had a trainer that was like that as well. One of my trainers, I remember it was a domestic call that I was taking in training, and I'm just about done. And I remember her saying, I think you're ready to go. And I'm like, no, I'm not ready to go. like, I don't think I am. And a call comes in, and like I said, it's a domestic. And the old CAD system that we had, you had to have the right incident type, township, or city number, the code, and the ORI for it to actually go in. You still got to put the narrative and everything else in, right? But if you can't get past that incident code, you can't get past it. So for whatever reason, at that moment, I could not remember that incident type for domestic violence. Like, you would think that it was just DV, right? But the way they had it in there was DOME. And so it was, and I'm like, why is it not DV? Why is it not DV? And I remember muting my mic really quick, and I looked over at my trainer and I said, I think you need to take this over, because in my mind, I'm like, I'm taking too much time. This is taking too much time. And the lady I was talking to is yelling and screaming, and like, they're separated. There wasn't any weapons, there wasn't anything physical, but anything can happen, right?
Yeah.
So I look over and I say that, and she just goes, no, I'm not going to take the call. You are going to be okay. You have got this. Take a deep breath, and you've got this. And I said, okay.
You look over like, really? You're just gonna?
Yeah,
But,
exactly. So, Tammy, thank you for that because it made me a stronger dispatcher. So I unmute and I got through it and everything was fine. And then after that, it was almost as if that specific incident type was like my call, my type of call that I doing because of that incident than any other trainees that would come in. I would tell them about that.
Yeah.
And I would tell them what she was saying and what I've heard a lot of people say where trainers have said, look, I might let you take in some water, but I'm not going to let you drown, okay? And so, yeah, that, like I said, that stuff I can get behind, but there's that other group
that's just being mean.
Right, yeah, it's just being mean. That group, I think, is kind of like that phrase that you hear or see on social media or whatever, this hurt people. And then sometimes it's like, well, maybe give them a chance to speak. Maybe they've been holding things in a long time. I don't know. Like, I'm sure there's a way around it, but going back to your memory there, I can see that. I've heard a lot of people say some similar things. Where like, man, some of those people were mean, and I went home and cried, but it ended up helping.
At that time, you don't see it that way, and I think that that's I'm training manager, so I think that's a training issue now. A lot of people that are trainers are used to how they learned, and maybe generation-wise, it's different now. You can't teach people like that. You can't treat people like shit and expect them to learn. That's not how it happens anymore.
Right, exactly.
Things are different, and so now trying to modify that and change that. We get a lot of people that my trainer made me cry. I don't want to train with them anymore. Instead of pushing through it. But how do you tell someone that's visibly upset about the job and the position and the training, like, I want you to stay, you're an excellent dispatcher, you're doing really well, I'm sorry that they made you cry, but they're also trying to help you. How do you explain that to somebody anymore?
Right.
It just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be, you're already at a tough position, why make it harder and push these trainees out? So that's always a tough thing to try to teach trainees and also trainers that you can't be like that anymore. And then trainees need to have some tougher skin. If you can't handle your trainer being rough, what are you going to do when you get a phone call and somebody's swearing and cussing at you and telling you all these different things? It's kind of part of the nature of the job.
It's the nature of the beast. As we're getting into 911 and everything, and you're right, that's the way a lot of that happens. When I first started out, my very first day in dispatch, the chief came to my house to ask if I still wanted the job. Excuse me. And I said yes. And he goes, okay, will you start tonight? And I thought, what? Because usually when you're starting a new job, it's either a few days later or even a week later so that you can get everything situated, right? Nope. It was that same night. I went in for the midnight shift, met my trainer, Harry, and I watched him take a 911 call. And after he was done, I actually applauded him. Because I was so fascinated. Like, I've never done anything like this before. And I was just like, good job, Harry. And it's like, thanks. We don't get a lot of thank yous around here. You're next. And I went, I'm sorry. Yeah. I said, are you for real? I've only been here for about 25 minutes. And he goes, yeah, you're next. The only way you're going to learn how to do this is by doing it. And I remember saying, like, there's nothing else to this. He goes, look, there's 3 things that you need to be able to do this. Sense? You need thick skin, and you have to be okay.
I've got this.
Yeah, like, all right.
I'm not sure, but I think I might be okay.
I might be all right. So your scheduling there kind of sounds like the way it was when I first started out, because ours was 8 hours. It changed every 2 weeks. Oof. And oof is indeed oof, super oof. And it was 6A to 2P, 2P to 10P, and 10P to 6A. And then when you got into that midnight shift, you were on that for a month. And then, then you went to days again, and it was horrible. I don't know why they did it that way, but it got me used to switching all the time. So.
Yeah, it makes sense because each shift is different. Things happen on days that don't happen on nights and vice versa. And noons is always, a shit show. But like that rotating with the sleep patterns and, the mental health with dispatchers, that doesn't help anything. Thankfully, the job I was at, once I was on noon, that was my, with overtime, I worked like the 3 to 3, like 3P to 3A a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But that's still, I didn't have to be back till, it wasn't any kind of jumping. I don't know how I would have handled that, honestly. That's the lack of sleep. I'm a person who needs my sleep, so
Yeah.
I don't know how that would have gone.
I think because I was 19 at the time, maybe that helped a little bit.
Yeah,
I
true.
was a little more resilient. I was able to bounce back. But as I got older and I was doing more of, I switched from 8 working. I started out working in Florida, moved back home to Southwest Michigan, and finished off in the county that I grew up in. I was a central dispatch, now working with a team, and now working 12 hours and with kids, and that was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Working 4:30 to 4:30, getting home and still being wired. So in Southwest Michigan, I was not far from Lake Michigan, so we would get all that lake effect snow. So it would be like a blizzard outside. But I'm the only dumbass who's outside at like 5 in the morning.
Shoveling, because you're like, I need to do something.
Yes, but what I'm shoveling, though, should have been my driveway. But what I'm shoveling out is my deck to my grill so that I can make steak and eggs. And I would put a couple of beers right in the snow.
There you go.
The people would pass by, and I'm like, oh,
how's it going?
Yeah, like I just got out of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of what it was like for me. So how did you, going from there, you said that it was about 4 months or so worth of training, right?
I think maybe closer to 6.
6
Again,
months?
blurry. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I know, yeah. So,
looking back, I'm like, I don't know.
You go from there, and are you doing every discipline of public safety, like police, fire, EMS,
Yes.
calls, like you're doing it all?
Yes.
At the
Yep.
console?
Non-emergency, emergency, police, fire, EMS, everything.
Oh, okay. So then you go from that. You spend, how many years did you spend there before you
10.
switched over? 10. Okay.
10.
So 10 years, and you had minimum of, let's just say even
It
2, so like
changed.
2 or 3.
In those 10 years, we regionalized.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was there for, the regionalization. We took on 3 more cities.
Mm-hmm.
We upped our minimums. We moved to a new building. So things kind of changed with that, too. I was there for the change, really.
Wow. So then what are some of the, if you can recall, not so much in the very beginning, but even when you start regionalizing, because that call volume starts to pick up and everything, do you remember some of those calls that were coming in during that time as well?
There was a lot of similar calls. We picked up an agency that dispatched, had the freeway, and we never had any part of the freeway. 2 of the 4 agencies all of a sudden had the freeway. So we're learning how to do calls on the freeway. You're learning what fire apparatus go, how many police officers to send. Learning a freeway is a pain. I still hate freeways from it because there wasn't a whole lot of, we didn't do a whole lot of training on it. It was more like they were able to sit in our dispatch and kind of like got trained because we obviously, took over their dispatchers, but we never got to go into theirs. So they were dispatching for themselves, but then once they were on vacation or off or whatever, we tried to do a lot of cross-training too. And I remember those freeways. Just those freeways is something that sticks in my head. It just was so hard for me with the freeways. A lot of the traffic stops, knowing the locations, there are streets that we weren't familiar with. So trying to learn 3 more cities on the fly was difficult. The one city was on a different radio system. I mean, it was just kind of all thrown together, but somehow we made it work.
So for like the highways and everything, was it more so like a lot of the crashes that were coming in, the amount of people calling, especially because depending on the year, cell phones, so everyone is calling for the traffic accident. And I don't know about you, but if we had 2 major highways in my county, and it never failed that someone would call in and say, yeah, there's a car that just went into the Meridian. And we're like, the what? The Meridian. And we're like, do you mean the median? And they would go, the stupid patch of grass that splits the highways. I'm like, okay, yes, the median.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that's what you meant because, I don't know, maybe you were talking about a local business that was close to the highway. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, it was difficult because it was a lot of the split. So they'd be on a freeway, they'd be like, oh, I'm at the split to go this way. And then I'm like thinking in my head, okay, if I'm driving, I'm on the split to go. I'm like, all right, what's around you? And One of the cities is close to Cleveland Hopkins, the airport.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, I'm by the airport. Well, the airport has all the way around it. There's freeways, there's roads. Like, where are you at? Like,
Give me a mile marker. Give me a landmark. Give me
well, even
something.
mile markers were difficult, and it was just the roughest part for some reason. And I still, to this day, it's like I have my own little PTSD over freeways.
Right.
Just because there's been so many bad accidents, and it was like, I can't get a good location that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And so I'm putting it in the CAD, it's getting dispatched out. Even if the officers knew and they could find it, to me, I wasn't complete because I didn't understand where they were at.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing I had to learn too, is just because I don't know doesn't mean somebody else doesn't.
Right. No, exactly. And it's just like the area that I was in, there were folks that were there, and this was some of the good things about the more seasoned, slightly crusty dispatchers that we had.
True.
Was that they had been there so long that like someone could call up and say, oh yeah, it's over by Bob's Road, where this happened. And like, does anyone know where Bob's Road is? And someone would go, I do. Like, I know exactly where that's at. And they would give the cross streets. And that was always good for someone that had that type of knowledge for the geography there. Or we had a spot within Allegan City that has a water tower, but people always called it just simply Water Tower Hill. That's the location they would give. Yeah. So every time a new person would come in that wasn't from the area, these were landmarks. We would say, you're going to go take a geo ride.
Yep.
And these are landmarks you need to remember. So those were always good to have some of those.
Slang terms, places that were slang. I had been with my city, and literally when I started, I got a blank map. And they were like, figure it out, fill it in, drive around, do whatever. But that was one of the best things for me. For a single agency, it was great. I could still tell you where half those streets are. I've been gone 6 years.
That's cool.
And then the other cities, like I was familiar with, but I didn't have that opportunity to learn them like I did originally. So that was a struggle for me too, because again, I wanted to know. I wanted to know where all these streets are, and I didn't have it memorized. I wanted to know this information, and I didn't get a chance to. So as much as I tried, there was still a struggle there for me. Mm-hmm. With regionalizing and everything like that, it still felt like starting over again. Your first time on that first radio with these new officers, these new locations, and you don't have a training officer with you. You're just kind of winging it.
Yeah.
So that was nerve-wracking, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. After doing it for so long, then all this gets added on you, just like you were saying. I see you were like, we've just gone back.
Yeah.
Like it just started all over with as much experience that I have. We just started over. Mm-hmm. So were you, before you made your switch to where you're at now, were you a trainer at the other place as well?
Yep.
Okay. So here's a question for you then. As we were kind of talking about some more seasoned and maybe slightly crusties, just in general, what was your motivation to become a trainer? Because every person that I've spoken to, it's always one of two things. Either they had shit training, shit trainers, and that was their inspiration to try to change the cycle, break that cycle. And or on the flip side of that, you had amazing training, amazing trainers, and you wanted to continue that cycle of training for literally that next generation of 911 that is coming in, that you can pass on that knowledge from those folks that did that to you. So for you, what was your inspiration to go into training?
I don't think it was really either of those. I think it was more knowing that I'm going to have to be partnered with these people, and I'm going to have to trust them with my officers and my firemen. I'm going to have to trust that they're getting the information correct on calls. I'm going to have to just trust them as a partner, and I want them to be the best they can be and the best that we can get them to be. And I want them to be the best. I want them to be better than me because I want to be able to trust sitting next to them that they're going to take care of my people. And so I didn't really, it wasn't because of good trainers, it wasn't because of bad trainers. It was just because I knew potentially that this person was going to be a partner, and I needed to have that respect for them. I needed to know they could do it.
I love that. That is awesome. I think you might be the only one who has said something like that. I mean, maybe there's others have said things similar, but that's just a straight motivation. Like you're looking at it that way, and that's probably one of the best ways to look at it as well. Because a lot of times when we're getting into this and we're moving up and we're doing other things, we want to leave the profession in a better place than we found it. And sometimes when we're working on things as well, it's not so much for us, but for what we leave. So that's just going to lend to your legacy. Finally retire out. People are going to remember that. And I've asked people in classes too, I've said, how do you want to be remembered when you leave? And some people, will go, I don't care. Like, it doesn't bother me. I'm like, oh, but in the back of your mind, it does. Yeah. It does bother you. And I've seen it happen. It happened at my center where there were a few people that left, and we remembered them as just an asshole for, lack of a better way to put it. That's just the way they were. And it's like, I don't know what more they were lending other than being a warm body. Share. You would hear the way they talked to people on the phone. You would hear the way they were with the officers, or especially when new people were coming in. Maybe it's time for you to go. Like, I get that there's job security. People need money. But, man, sometimes that's what ends up leading to maybe somebody getting hurt, whether it be in the field or over the phone.
Or even your coworkers. Like, there's people that are amazing dispatchers, but they're assholes to everybody else. Like, I'm glad you can do the job. That's awesome. I respect that. But be a person. Like, just be a person.
Right. Be
human.
And if
you don't want to be, then just sit there quiet. Like, you don't need to cause issues. You don't need to start things. You need to make smart comments. You just sit in your own little bubble if that's what you want to do. But keep your attitude there.
Right.
And just do your job.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so before we move over here to Chagrin Valley, you were talking about the highway, roads and everything, and it actually kind of reminded me of a call that I took once where there was a couple that saw a gentleman who was on the side of the road with, I think it was like a Trans Am or something like that. Hood is up, and they pull over to help him out. So once they get out of the car, they had the pretty nice SUV. I can't remember exactly what kind it was, but they get out of the car, they go to help him, and another person comes out at gunpoint. They steal their car and leave that car. And
so it probably wasn't even an issue. They were just trying to...
Yeah, it was just a setup. And the one thing that I will never forget is while I'm talking, I think I was talking to the husband, the wife is yelling in the background, the first time that we decide to help somebody and this happened. And I'm just typing and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Are you hurt? Are you okay? They're like, I mean, our pride. Like,
yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, if that's the least that you're worrying about, like, okay.
At least they didn't get hurt.
Right.
But at the same time, too, though, now you're thinking in your head, well, guess I'm not stopping to help anybody. They're never going to stop and help anybody again.
They'll never stop and help someone again. No, and that sucks. I feel like when you get into 911 at times, well, not at times, all the time, is when you really find dark humanity sometimes. And it's eye-opening. I don't know how it was for you, if you agree as well. But.
Yeah, oh yeah. Like, I started to hate people. And a general bold statement, but I just don't like people because of decisions that they've made, because of things that have happened, because of stories that I've heard, or the way people treat each other. Like, I just don't, in general, we're just nasty. There's no other way to put it. We're just like a nasty, rude, like, we just have no respect, no trust. I mean, granted, there's people out there that don't fit into this, but
all right, of course.
Overall, this is what I deal with 90% of my calls. So this is my thought of people now. My whole perception. There's some people that can still be like, oh, well, good in everyone. And I think I'm more one of those people that's like, yeah, you're all right. Let's see what you're
doing. Right. Like, yes. No, exactly. And I've mentioned this on the podcast before, and I always mention it because it fits. But if you think about the cartoon Scooby-Doo, and you don't realize this as a kid, but when you see it as an adult, and I got this just simply from a meme, and when I looked at it, I was like, hell no. Like, that makes so much sense, where they're saying, they're looking for all of these monsters, okay? But in the end, when they take the mask off, they're all human. And that's exactly, the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
for
it's
sure.
human. Monsters are real, but they're human.
Yeah, and there's so many song lyrics that come to mind with that too. But you know, it's the truth. Like
Right.
every single time, it was somebody that, and it was always somebody right under their nose, somebody they knew, somebody they'd talked to earlier in the episode, and that's kind of how it is a majority.
Yep. It was our first introduction to true crime
Yeah,
as kids.
exactly. With Scooby-Doo.
Oh,
and they
man.
always solved it. So now you have that expectation of always solving it.
Oh, right. Yeah, or hoping to. Yeah, and then when you don't, it's like, damn it. You know, that
They say
really
people
gets
get
to
messed
you.
up with Disney and the princesses thing. No, some of us were messed up by Scooby-Doo.
Oh man! So you end up you spend 10 years there, and you end up making a switch over here to Chagrin Valley. Now, what are some of the differences from going there to here? Whether it be technology, the amount of people that you're working with, area, maybe even call volume. Like what are some differences?
All of the above.
All of the above.
I mean, I went from, eventually regionalization kind of fell apart a little bit. So when I left, they only had 2 agencies. They were down to 2. So I went from 2 agencies to a center that had 5, a company that overall had 33. So that was a huge, huge thing too. I was, I still dispatched on fire. That was still something that was instilled in me, but they called their cars different things. They called their units different. They sent different things. What we called an engine company was not an engine company for them. So that was a switch, just learning the terms and technology and the apparatus. That was a big one for me. And then on the police end, learning, something as simple as this city does a lockout, but this city doesn't do a lockout. This city will take their neighbor's garbage out, but this city, they can be told to go screw off.
Yeah.
Just learning the different things about the different cities was a big change. I had always worked with, several people, so that was nothing, big. More different personalities, though, getting to know new people. It was hard to come in with so much experience and sit down and be in that training position again. I walked in there and just thought okay, I can handle this. I can figure it out. My first day, I thought, all right, I'll observe, I'll watch, I'll see what's going on. Well, the person that was training me was pretty much like, no, you've done this, just do it. And I'm like, okay. So I'm answering the radio, I'm doing it, and I did it. I had no issues, but in my head, I'm thinking, you're not giving me any instruction. You're not helping me. You're not assisting me with anything I might need.
Right.
But then at the same time, I'm like, she also doesn't need to because I'm doing it. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking is this how it goes? And then I went on the other radios and I needed help with specifics of those cities and things like that, locations, traffic stops, stuff like that. But overall, I was done with training. I think I started in November and I was on my own shift by January, which is expected because I had so many years.
Right.
And it was just kind of you've done it before, you can do it here. And I didn't think of it that way until I was actually doing it. So now when we get lateral transfers, I also think okay, when I was a lateral transfer, this is what I was okay with, this is what I was not okay with. So I try to talk to that person too and just ask them ahead of time. Okay, what are you comfortable with? What do you want to try? What do you want to see? What are your expectations of me as a trainer? Kind of go back and forth and just have a conversation with people more.
Yeah.
When I first started here, my position didn't exist. So now that I'm in it, I know I can talk to people more and get that. And then I can talk to their training officers, talk to people in their center and say, hey, this person's great with doing this. They have no concerns whatsoever. They just want to sit in the chair and do it. And the trainer's like, okay, that's fine. Or, saying all right, maybe they need some assistance. But yeah, for the most part, I just sat in there and just started doing it. The shift I was on, didn't think I talked for probably the first 6 months because I think I was so focused on just doing the job and I didn't want to, I wasn't there, and this was just my mind frame at the time. I wasn't necessarily there to make friends. I was there to just do a job. I had all the friends I needed from the other center. I had all the friends from, life. I didn't need any new friends. I just was there to do a job. So for that first 6 months, all I did was focus on.
Yeah.
So I think that made a difference. I wasn't worried about being social or making friends or, fitting in, getting along. I was literally sitting 12 hours, me and the computer and the people I was dispatching for, getting up and leaving.
That's the way to do it, because it's interesting how you say, like, you were going back and forth in your mind, and because I'm all about being a self starter, and when I switched from the single PD to the central dispatch, I probably could have done it, because as you're saying it, I'm thinking about it myself. Like, I probably could have just jumped in, especially because it was the county that I grew up in. Now, the east side of the county, I didn't know it that well, but I'd be able to get around it and everything, and I would probably be able to do it. Like, the CAD was different. The CAD that I had when I first started out, one of our dispatchers was going to college for computer science, and he created a CAD out of Microsoft Excel.
Oh.
So that was our CAD.
Wow. Well, but
Yeah.
I give him credit, but that had to be something different to work with.
Oh yeah, it was, and it wasn't really anything huge. I mean, it wasn't like it was connected to, like, none of the officers had like a T that we could message to them. But yeah, it was definitely interesting. So you've got all of these different dynamics now, and you're just focused for those 6 months. And it's funny that you say too that nobody thought that you really spoke.
Yeah, I mean, I think they kind of were, that you get those new people and you're kind of like, don't necessarily care for them, or you kind of like even forget they exist sometimes. Like, you don't feel like you need to like talk to them or socialize because they just sit there. I think that's kind of like they were like, all right, well, there's Jen. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about her because I don't know anything about her. I wouldn't be
She doesn't
rude.
speak.
Yeah, I wouldn't be rude if somebody asked me, I'd talk or whatever, but I wasn't
Yeah.
overly outgoing or anything. I wasn't like
Yeah.
I am now, that's for sure. And my mind frame too, with switching from where I was to where I'm at now, like, was just come in and work. Like, I don't need the drama. I don't need because I came from a place that, had that, because what place doesn't?
Right.
But now I'm starting over. I don't need to get involved. So my first thought right off the bat was, if I don't talk and I don't speak and nobody gets to know me, we don't hang out, we don't do anything, then I don't need to be involved in the drama. Then I stay out of it.
See, that's what it is right there in drama. Yes, that's another thing that I mention in class. Sometimes right off the bat, sometimes towards the middle, but kind of address like the click, because every center has clicks, and I've been telling people, like, you've got to remember this, even if you don't care. Hopefully, you hear it and you will take something from it. It happens in every single center. I've spoken to a bunch of people, and I've been around for a long time. If you are part of a clique, those cliques get broken up eventually. Whether they go to different shifts, they go to a different agency, or they just simply retire out. If you're the last person standing, and you were part of a group that was shitting on other people, people forgive, but they don't forget. And you're going to be the one left trying to gain that trust and support back. Hopefully, you're able to. So,
or you just sit there.
right.
Yeah. And and 12 hours is a long time to sit with people who,
right,
might not care to reach out and be friendly. Even if you make that effort, sometimes it doesn't matter anymore. Depending.
Yeah. It happens everywhere. So, you end up moving over, and how many people are working at a time here at
the one
center?
I was in Cleveland Heights, and there was.
So there's, how many centers does Chagrin Valley have? 3. So they have 3. Okay, and you said how many were on at a time at the place that you were at?
The place that I was at is the one with the least amount of radios.
Okay.
There were 6. The other one is in Brecksville. They have 7, and I believe Bedford has 9. I could be off.
And
I apologize to whoever. If I'm off, I'm sorry. I should know these things. That
it is all good.
I'm on the spot.
Yeah, no, it is all good. So you've got the 3 different ones, and at each one, is it all disciplines, or is it like, does fire, one, just all of it?
All police, fire, EMS, non-emergency, emergency.
I'm guessing you're maybe the largest agency in the state. Is that possible? Or one of them?
We're probably, we dispatch from most of Cuyahoga County in Ohio. So, yeah, we've probably.
I can just imagine
yeah,
all of that going on. Now, if you, as long as you feel comfortable, is there like a call that just kind of sticks out for you?
There's a couple. I had, when I was at my old agency, my daughter was, I think I was pregnant actually. And so my son had to be about 3 and I was pregnant with my daughter. And I took a call from a grandpa who couldn't find his grandson. And they were looking around, looking in the house, I was like, well, what do you, we're checking the garage, we're checking the house. And I was like, oh, a car. Why don't you check the car? See if maybe, the kid was playing in the car. So the grandpa goes out and he's on the phone with me. He opens the door and the kid had played with it. So I'm on the phone with grandpa. I'm the one who told him to look in the car. He opens the door, look in the car, and the kid passed away from a gunshot. And he was 4.
Yeah.
And my son was 3. Plus hearing grandpa's reaction and everything, and having talked to him for probably a good 5 minutes already, kind of getting that rapport with him, even though it wasn't anything, and just hearing that reaction, that's one of those things that'll echo in my head. So that's one of the calls that's always kind of stuck with me. But then on the flip side, one of the calls that has also probably been the hardest for me is a simple lost dog. I had a coyote mix, and he had cancer, and he had a really, really rough night the night before. I knew I was going to have to put him down soon. I didn't get much sleep. I already was a mess. I'm a very big dog person. They're my babies. My kids actually accuse me of loving the dogs more than them. So, and he just had a rough night. I didn't sleep. I had to be at work at 6. I was up at 4. Very first call I take is a lady who is hysterical because she lost her dog. I got the information, got a phone, took the call, was professional. I hung up, and I absolutely lost it to the point where my co-supervisor had to send me home. I couldn't get it together. I'm like, people have calls like this over people passing away, CPR, and I'm losing it over a dog. But it just was the fact that she was upset that she, just lost her dog, and I was about to really lose mine.
Right.
And that just even now I'm starting to tear up again for some reason.
It's completely okay.
Yeah, but for some reason, just a call over a lost dog did me in.
Yeah.
That's always the one that when people bring it up, I bring up the 4-year-old and I bring up the lost dog. 2 very different, drastic things, but those are the 2 that stick with me.
I think, and I don't know if you've kind of reflected and have come to this conclusion or anything, but just listening to you say this, and because of the many people that I've spoken to, but also I firmly believe that there's some calls that are meant for us for a certain reason. And I feel like sometimes, some of the kid calls that I've had, it was kind of similar to yours, not the same incident, but similar in the sense that they were almost the same age as my children. I feel like the reason that I say that some of these calls are meant for us is because of that experience. So it's not to say that my partners wouldn't have done a good job. They probably would have done great. But because I had kids around the same age, I was able to relate to that caller better, talk to them in a certain way.
You know what they want to hear because it's what you would want to hear.
Yes. So I feel goosebumps right now. I almost feel the same way about the dog call as well, because you were going through it. You were able to relate with them, and again, connect in a deeper way. And I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes it just seems to be that way. And you're right. It's 2 different types of a dynamic. Yeah. But like you said, the dog is your baby. And now you're talking to this person.
Here he is. That's his paw print right there.
I love that. That is awesome.
Yeah. But it was just, it was, and it's ridiculous. And I always tell my trainees too, you never know what call is going to be that call that you break down.
Right.
You never know when you're going to get that call. It could literally be anything. And you're just, that's it for you. It just, everything happens all at once. It spirals and you're just can't handle it. And I always try to say too, though, even though when that does happen, thankfully I had my supervisor partner at the time was a really good friend of mine. So she knew my dog, she knew me, she's still a really good friend of mine. And she, was able to just be like, all right, you need to go. She's like, I know you're not going to be able to calm down. You're not going to. So she had the ability to tell me to leave and that I needed to go, and they'd cover it and everything. I don't know if anyone else would have been able to tell me that. I probably might have suffered and sat there. But in the same time too, though, that makes me, when I see somebody upset, I want to be able to try to help them. But I'm also kind of the person that's like, sorry, you're crying. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm not a hugger. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it just, it's another thing, like my own personal experience with it. Now when I see somebody else upset on the floor, I can say, hey, I might not be the best person to talk to, but like, why don't you go get a glass of water, go take a walk, I'll take your radio, go, do whatever, go just in your car for a second, or, are you okay? Do you want to go home? Do you want to stay? Do you want to, like, now I know a lot more about how it feels to be there, whether you want to sit. Some people want to sit. Some people want to work through it because it's better than going home and thinking about it. I went home and probably was just as much of a mess when I got home, but I also got to spend that extra day with my dogs.
Right.
It made it better to be there for him. And then we did wind up putting him down. So it was a good experience, I guess, for me to take what happened there and apply it for other people when they're upset about other things.
Yes. And that's one of the things, too, that I love about conversations like this. Because we never know what people do. And a lot of times, all of us walk around like, it's fine. But sometimes it takes for someone to say hello and say, are you all right? And of course, all of us are usually like, yeah, I'm fine.
Fine.
But then, sometimes when someone says, sure, you're okay? And then, maybe, sometimes it might
even
be
how they
just
ask.
that extra one. Yeah,
if somebody just says, hey, how's it going? I'm like, it's good, it's going. But if somebody says, hey, you're looking a little upset, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, then it's different. I'm going to answer different. But that's also something that I've learned, and also, being in the position that I'm in now, it's wording things different ways gets you different responses.
Yeah.
Especially with dispatching. You're talking to somebody on the phone asking, did you see a gun versus what does it look like, gets you two different answers. So that's what I try to talk to trainees about too. Just learning from my own experience, just rephrasing things, asking different, even a training officer talking to a trainee, wording things different.
Yeah. You
should have done that this way versus, hey, next time, why don't you try this? It makes a world of a difference.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it doesn't sound like you're completely them.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, but the same works for callers too.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, because I tell people all the time too, like you could be the first person your call, that call, specific call, whichever it might be the first time that this person is calling 911, and you're the first voice that they're hearing. Depending on you're asking the question, tone, or whichever, immediately that'll be the last time.
Yep.
Like they might not ever call again. It's like,
even
I
when
don't
they
want
need
to,
they don't want to talk to somebody like the person.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Damn, I wish you would have been one of my trainers.
I don't know. I might have made you cry.
Hey, I mean, it might have been that tough love, though, that little bit that actually, like the other trainer that I had that I mentioned, that that one, that actually ended up working. It made me a better dispatcher.
Two of my trainees do, like they said, and they said at the time that they were kind of like, oh, the heck, but both of them have said to me at separate times, like, yeah, you made me cry, but they're both stellar dispatchers. And I feel like I had not all of it, but I had a little bit to do with it.
Yeah.
And I knew both of them could handle it.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't going to make them quit. They had that personality. They had that tough skin. They were going to take what I told them. They were going to show me that they could do it. They were going to prove me wrong. And I knew both of them could handle it. So I did that with the two of them, and both of them have said to me at separate times, like, yeah, you really were the best trainer, but you also were the hardest. And then there's other people where I couldn't be like that, so I wasn't.
Yeah. Well, that's got to feel good, though. There's got to be a sense of satisfaction there as well, going through all of this stuff, but also being able to have your experience and story for others who are coming in and being successful as well. So thank you for what you do.
Thanks.
I could sit here and talk with you for hours. I think we've gone an hour already. But I have one last question for you.
Okay.
As we go into the wrap-up of this episode, and again, it's been awesome to have you here and just learn about your story and the train and everything. And I was serious. I would have loved to have had you as a trainer when I was working. With 17 years that you have, if you could go back in time to talk to yourself at the beginning of your career, what would you tell yourself? And that's not to change anything really, because I feel like a lot of times we have to have hard lessons, or there's things that we go through that bring us to where we are at today. So if you could go back and just talk to yourself, what are some of the things you...
Any call I ever made a mistake on, I would tell myself to fix that mistake. Don't do that, don't do this. Just stick with it, I guess, which I clearly did anyways.
Yeah.
I don't really know that there is anything, because if I would have given myself any advice, then I might not be in the position I'm in now, because it might have changed.
Yeah.
So I don't want to change anything, because I like the... So any decision, any advice, anything that I would do or say, I don't really want to. So I don't think I would tell myself anything. Yeah, I don't. I maybe just like would hover and watch myself and probably be like, oh no, don't do that, please, no, change that, fix that. But other than that, I don't think I would tell myself. I don't think I'd give myself.
Awesome. Hey, that is excellent. Thank you so very much for everything.
For having me.
Yes, and for what you do. And for those who are watching and listening, if you have any comments, questions, or you ever want to be a guest on the show, you can email us, and that's going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. The easiest way to do all of this is to simply go to links.co/WTT podcast, and that's links with 2 I's .co/WTT podcast. This is dinging, so it threw me off. But you'll find everything on there: email, social media, all of it. And a big thanks again to InDigital for everything, as well as Chagrin Valley Dispatch for having me out here. And you can see this on Facebook, YouTube, as well as LinkedIn and X. And then you can listen 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone. We'll see you all in the next one.
Imagine listening to someone's worst day every single day. Imagine listening as someone experiences life, through their worst nightmare to the miracle of birth or a life saved. I'm Ricardo Martinez, a former 911 dispatcher, and for years, I've been recording the voices of a hidden world, ours. I've provided a space for 911 dispatchers to share their powerful stories. It started as a peer support session and continues. Dispatchers sitting together, sharing out loud, or writing down what they couldn't say. Some stories will grip you. Stories of heartbreak, resilience, and calls that haunt us long after the line goes quiet. But imagine listening is more than heavy emotion. It's about healing. It's about laughing through the chaos, lifting each other up, and reminding the world that dispatchers are human too. The lighthearted will balance the heavy. Experience the power of storytelling, a podcast for the thin gold line and those who want to understand it. This is Imagine Listening. Your worst day is our everyday. Subscribe now wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.